Savvy Central Radio, drawing out the best from our guest with your host, Christina Nitchman.
Hello everyone and welcome to Savvy Central Radio. This is your host, Christina Nitchman. Each week, Savvy runs weekly broadcasts providing entrepreneurs and successful individuals a platform to express their dreams, hopes, lessons learned, expertise, and wisdom with the world. Our guest today is Gabriella Guglielminotti Trivel, author, speaker, and feminine cycle consultant who educates women about their feminine cycle and helps them find their inner power, wisdom, and make their feminine cycle their best friend. When women learn to combine the power of their mind and the wisdom of their body, they can live lives that are harmonious and have better intimate relationships. Gabriella offers coaching, workshops, personal sessions, and intensive VIP days. Find out more about Gabriella and her practice at flyinginspiration.co.uk. Hi, Gabriella. Welcome to Savvy Central Radio. How are you?
Hi, Christina. I'm very good. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to talk to you today.
Well, I was very excited. We have a common passion, and that is aviation and flying. I see create and kind of worked its way into your coaching business because you have an amazing coaching business called Flying Inspiration. It's a unique coaching business that really focuses on the feminine qualities. Share with our audience how you came to creating your coaching business and how it differentiates from other coaching businesses.
Definitely flying is a passion of mine, which I have to say I took on only recently. I actually started my flying training in 2010, so only 5 years ago. And I still haven't finished my training. I'm aiming to become a glider pilot. So it means flying without an engine. So being able to be airborne thanks to the knowledge you got of the elements. And also to the condition of the day. So it's a bit like sailing in a way. It's a bit more nature friendly than, flying with an engine. Yes, I kind of came into coaching a while back. To be precise, I came across the personal development world back in my 20s because I originally trained as an interpreter when I was still living in Italy. And through that, I was invited to translate in an international macrobiotic center in the Swiss Alps. And that's when I started becoming acquainted with interesting stuff, or for some people might be weird stuff. And so that was the beginning of my journey. But then when I came to UK, I moved to UK in 1998. I came across neuro-linguistic programming, which is also called NLP. And in 2006, I trained in that. It really fascinated me. I've always been fascinated by the mind and the power of the mind, especially. And so that for me was really like my playground. But I felt that there was always something like kind of escaping me, like, sand through your hands, and your fingers. And what happened was I kept searching. And also I went through a period of stress in my life. And I noticed that my feminine cycle, my menstruation, was becoming erratic. So not regular. And so I, of course, being into natural alternative medicine, I thought, moment to review things, to stop and listen and understand the message of my body. And so I thought to myself, I have to investigate this. A few years later, I came across a lady called Alessandra Pope, and she has been doing this type of work around the feminine cycle for a long while. And it opened me up to a very different world. I would call it the feminine world simply because nobody had ever told me anything about it. I mean, the basic facts, but even if I lived in a kind of civilized world, in the Western world, there wasn't any kind of wisdom or knowledge handed to me through my mother or my grandmother, and not through school either. And so I, like possibly many women out there, I just kind of got on with it.
Yeah.
There's a huge difference, though, with just putting up with something or enduring it because it's something you can't escape, or, but it's there in your body. And instead appreciating and knowing how it works, there's a huge difference. So what happened then when I found out all about this subject, well, not all, because it's a process that obviously is unfolding for every woman, but let's say I became aware. And so my search, my investigation is now active rather than being unconscious. So I realized that there is a need in the world for women to go out there and spread the message and waking up other women to the reality of this, because there is so much that a woman can learn from it.
Yeah, and to understand that the feminine cycle isn't just the menstruation time when you're bleeding. And what I love about the work you're doing, and we had a past guest that I introduced you to, who does underwear that's for women, and specifically women going through menstruation. And what they realized in their work, and which I'm sure you realized, is that there's a lot of shame tied to the feminine cycle and to the whole idea of menstruation. And it's really, really sad, because it is the reason life exists. It's the reason why a woman can carry a baby, and how that whole process of life comes to be. So to think of it as icky or yucky or I mean, I think all people, men and women alike, can really gain a lot from understanding the feminine cycle and the power behind it, and that it's a blessing.
Well, yes, but there is I think there is a huge gap here to be filled between what it should be theoretically. So men and women appreciating the fact that for some weird reason, nature designed us in this way. And what is actually now happening, women in the best case scenario, they are just putting up with it, and they don't, if they are not in pain, they just ignore it, basically. That's it. If instead, in the worst case scenario, they are in pain every month, or they have different ailments coming out of it, they obviously consider it as a curse or a drag, whatever is the millions of words that are used out there. So instead of, it's almost like kind of seeing your body, instead of your friend, part of you, an extension of you, as an enemy. And imagine the damage that does to you physically, emotionally, psychologically. And so what again, this is a generalization, but unfortunately is what happens. Women just medicate it. They go to GP or gynecologist, and so what they do, generally, they either give them drugs, or the pill is one of the very common way to kind of find a solution out of it, which is unfortunately not a solution, because anything that is not natural is going to have some side effects. So, and the women pay the toll, obviously. That's it. So there is a huge gap between reality, which is this, and having the majority of women being happy and conscious and appreciative of their body, and considering it as a sacred tool that their soul inhabits for this human experience. As you can see, there's a huge difference, a huge gap. So I'm doing my best to bridge the gap.
Now, how do you do that with your services, Gabriella? How do you help them find and reclaim their power through their feminine cycle? How does that work when they work with you?
Yeah, I have to mention that because it's something that is so taboo still to these days, and it has, as you mentioned, such a negative, connotation and stigma. It's stupid, but women do feel guilty or ashamed of it. So it's not easy to find a way sometimes to open the conversation. So I do my best by writing blogs and articles and trying different platforms and do my best really to be out there. But still, I can say it's early days. And I feel very much like a pioneer. But when women do come to me, I offer different things, mainly two. Either a personal service, which happens through personal session, that can be in person or over the phone or Skype. So it's a more a personal conversation to find out what actually is underlying the problem, because there's always something that is much deeper than the physical effects that a woman might feel or want to get rid of. And so it's really an exploration. I put on my Sherlock Holmes hat and really help take the woman by the hand to really look into what is happening for her. And then the second part, which is the major thing, is explain to her that she can consider her cycle as the year. And so as the year has got 4 seasons, we as women, every month we go through the 4 seasons. And actually, because everybody experienced in their life the seasons, is something that anybody can relate to. It's easy to relate to the different and understand the different energy that summer can have. And for instance, winter, right? They're very opposite. They're very different. So comparing the 4 phases of the cycle, which are the pre-ovulatory phase, which is the week after we stop bleeding, which can be compared to the spring season. And then we go into the second week, which is ovulation, and that can be compared to summer. And then the third week is comparable to autumn, which is the premenstrual week and phase. And then the last week of the cycle is when we bleed. So we experience menstruation, and that's comparable to winter. So this is a very simple metaphor or analogy, but that in itself, every woman I came across so far, they can all relate to that. Because it's something that we have like encoded in our body. and so you just need for somebody to explain that to you, pointing out at you, and you immediately know what they're talking about. So that can also happen in a group context. So I do workshops. And in workshops, obviously, it can be less personalized, but it's very interesting because there is dynamics of the group. Now, when women get together, there's something magical happening. That's for sure. It's palpable. It's tangible. So it's really interesting, the stuff that comes up. And also, I noticed that in workshop, which is a group contest, there's almost like kind of somebody maybe starts saying something. It's almost like gives the permission to the other to realize and then maybe relate to that experience. And so more stuff comes up.
Yeah.
It's very interesting what comes up. And it's, I have to say, I mean, it's a new era dawning. I really hope so. When women are becoming freer and more conscious of themselves. And so as a consequence, hopefully happier.
Yeah.
And realize that there has been so much conditioning going on, but nothing can be done. All we can do is becoming aware of it, because that's freedom.
Absolutely. And so when someone comes to you, generally they have issues with their feminine cycle, or is it issues within their life that you tie back to their feminine cycle and have them reclaim their power through the femininity of who they are, and then hence help them with their life and their business?
It can be both, but I have to say something which is very important. You see, normal type of coaching or even neuro-linguistic programming, it's very good and effective, but it's a kind of a general approach, right? Of course, we all have a mind that is wonderful and very powerful. The only thing is, though, unfortunately, we are not just a mind. We have a body. And the thing is, for women, as women, our body having different cycles, but especially one of them, and it's the one that I normally educate women with, is the feminine cycle. It's so important and so fundamental because it rounds us, affects us not just physically, for instance, our energetic level, right? But affects us, our moods, our thoughts, and that is obviously consequently our actions. So I use that approach because I think it's the best possible approach, and it's so personalized to those. It's so fair. It's the best thing that you can use to be able to really find out the issues that a woman can have and maybe has hidden for years. And also because the body always tells us sooner or later if there's something not right. Generally speaking, if you have a problem with the feminine cycle, it's because there's something there that the body wants us to know. And so I love this approach, and I love to explain to women that your unique way of personal development, really, that is so tailor-made to you. And there isn't nothing better, really, because if we consider that the menstruating years are, generally speaking, between 30 and 40 years, right? It's a huge chunk of your life.
Yeah.
So basically, if you are not taking care of it and appreciating it and getting all the gifts of it, I mean, it's like living on the bedside a huge amount of money or diamonds or whatever is precious to you, right?
Exactly.
Because the thing is, all we want, consciously or unconsciously at the end of the day, is feeling happy, feeling good, right? Either we are men or women.
Yeah, exactly. And why do you think for women and men alike, there's such an uncomfortableness around the mention or discussion and such a taboo around the very idea of the menstruation and the feminine cycle? Why is that, you think?
That's a super $1 million type of question. But thank you for asking me that, because I asked that myself for a long time. Okay, I tell you what at this stage of my life, I'm thinking, I'm guessing. Generally, behind anything that is considered by society a taboo subject, there's always power. Now, 3 things come to mind just on top of my head right now that are taboo. Money, sex, and menstruation, for sure. I'm sure there are others, and if you look at it, behind all those 3, there's power. Because, and also, behind those 3 is where the majority of people have some kind of problems. Now, you might say, oh, well, I live in UK and you live in the States. Oh, well, I'm not sure if sex is so taboo anymore, because we talk about it, And the same for money. Yes, that's right. But the fact that before it wasn't talked about and now it's over talked about shows that we are just swinging on the other side of the pendulum, right?
Exactly.
We still have to go in the middle.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, especially sex, when you mention the word sex and people start giggling like little kids. Exactly. And I'm like, you have sex, right? You have children. But there's still this idea that when you're around people, it's like, ooh, taboo. And it's like we're conditioned that way from birth onward with sex and money. And I think you're right, though, that tie to power behind it. And so do you think it's intentional by society that it's set up because these things have so much power behind it that it's kind of set up to be a taboo?
Let me just get a bit further. Okay, let's drop for the moment sex and money, simply because we were talking about the feminine cycle. So why is that, Okay, definitely it's a taboo as well, the feminine cycle. So there might be some power. And then you might ask, well, where is the power? Well, there is some power because when you start understanding and go into it as a woman, and you see that if you get into sync, like you dance with your body, right? Every month, you get in sync with nature instead of just fighting and ignoring it. Okay. You start seeing that actually life is a kind of designed in a way for you to experience lots of different stages. So it's interesting. It is purposeful, and also is designed in a way that you are very efficient. Because if you think of the season, and just think of the normal season and what happens, during the whole year, you have different products, flowers, fruits, vegetables, right? Mm-hmm. And it seems almost like a perfectly designed, for us to have everything we need. Mm-hmm. That is it's similar with the cycle. And also, just to give you the best nuggets of all, is that during that week, which is so dreaded, which is the bleeding week, or call it winter, or the menstruating week, during that week, women who are aware of it, meaning aware, they see the sacredness of it, because this is life, basically. It's the life process built in us, because we can give life, right? Now, in that week, a woman is very powerful. And I tell you why and how. If you rest and you kind of shut the shop, and you dedicate more time, attention, and energy to yourself, your psyche, your mental process, call it whatever you prefer to call it, becomes very open to other dimensions, meaning you are more psychic. If you are looking for reasons or understanding more something that you don't understand yet in your life, is the time that it can come through to you. And so that's very powerful. Mm-hmm. And in some civilization, in different times over the planet, this was revered and considered and worshipped as something sacred. So women, they were asked, like sibyls, right? They were asked for divinations, I think Native American Indians, some tribes, they still do it. They have the moon lodges, right? Where the women go to rest and retire from the world and stay with themselves. Mm-hmm. And among other women. And in some tribes, I think they still do it. Men or the elder would sleep in the moon lodges, mm-hmm. Piece of paper with questions or things that should be resolved, because they know that during that time, a woman becomes almost a conduit, right? With spirit. Can you see how different of an approach is that to our society, where, you're bleeding, get a tampon, so nobody knows about it. So you can go out and jump, do skydiving, go into the sea, do whatever, and nothing happens. But why?
Yeah, it shouldn't be hidden. So I want you to let the audience know, because we are getting close to the end here, how they can find out more about you, if you have any upcoming events or workshops you want to let people know about.
Yeah, well, I offer, because of the taboo subject we explained and talked about, I offer a free discovery call to whoever woman, any woman who wants to find out a bit more about it, because might feel a bit skeptical or not sure if it's for her, etc. So I do offer a half an hour free consultation in a way. I call them discovery call. They can only just contact me through the website, which is flyinginspiration.com. Mm-hmm. And I do help men as well to understand, because let's not forget, men are more scared than women about the subject, and they are at the receiving end of it, because if women don't know about themselves, forget about men. Yeah. So it's almost like a big mystery. Whereas it would be so refreshing if somebody would explain to them what is happening, and so they can be attuned better with the woman of their life, be more respectful, because, knowledge is power, right?
Yeah.
And also in an intimate relationship, when the woman is aware of a cycle and the man is knowledgeable about it as well, can be create such a strong bond within the couple, I mean. So it's all to gain. There's it's a question really just to reap the gifts of it rather than just dismiss it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because as you said, many men are sisters to husbands of women, and they have mothers who are women, and it behooves them only to know all about this so that they can be in unison with their families and with their mother and with their wives. So absolutely, I want to thank you, Gabriella, for coming to Savvy Central Radio and sharing your wisdom on this very important topic.
Thank you very much for having me, Christina, and for helping me out to spread the message.
You're welcome. Wednesday, July 15th, 2015, from 6 to 9 p.m., Savvy Central Radio hosts our 4th live interactive business networking event and interview with our guest, national seminar leader and best-selling author Paul Mlađenović. Paul shares with us his classic program, Zero Cost Marketing. Come join us for a fun-filled evening with fellow entrepreneurs over light fare and cocktails as you build valuable contents and knowledge. If you're in the New York City area, get your tickets today and come join us at bit.ly/savvymarketing.
Savvy Central Radio is home to over 100,000 listeners per month globally and runs in syndication on 8 AM and FM platforms, including iHeartRadio and 6 podcasting platforms. To find out more about our paid sponsorship opportunities or to become a guest and find out how we can help you get your message out to the world, call 718 area code 713-2289 or email at savvycentralradio@gmail.com.